town's website.
Well, maybe we should get started and then we can add a member if he comes in. This is Rich Prendergast, Town of Old Lyme, WPCA chairman. We're going to start the WPCA meeting for tonight. This is being recorded. It'll be shown up, I guess, on the town websites, recorded of it. Before we get started with the agenda items, I'd like to go around and introduce the WPCA members. This is obviously Rich Prendergast, and I'd ask each member I call on your name if you could shout out so people can see your face and possibly hear your voice. So Frank, could you give a shout out?
Present.
Okay, thank you. Andrea?
Present.
Doug?
Present.
James?
Present.
Rob? Rob McCarthy? Rob's there. He might be on mute.
Yeah.
So Steve, can you give a shout out?
Yeah, she's present.
I'm going to check to see if I'm getting any texts. No, let's see if there's any chat windows. Okay.
Calling user 6, is that a member of the WPC?
Well, let's go this way. Has any WPCA members not been called on? So we'll assume caller number 6 is a general public person, which they're welcome. And we're missing Dimitri, so I'm not really sure where he's at. He said he would show up or be able to come. Joe Carpentino is excused. He had an obligation he couldn't get out of. So first agenda item, number 2 is the approval of minutes from the June 9th. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from a WPCA member?
I'll make it. Doug.
So Doug made a motion to approve the minutes. Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Andrea seconded. Open discussion. Does any edits, clarifications, additions? Hearing none, all those WPCA members in favor of passing the motion, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. I'm going to take that as unanimous vote. Jennifer, if you could write that down. Just in case people are just getting on, we're recording this. If we have a close vote, we will go and poll each WPCA member, but I'm pretty sure agenda passing is pretty easy to do. So from this, we'll go to the next item on the agenda, which is the budget update and expenses. And before I hand it over to Doug to give us an update, I'd like to point out that we have some bills that are related to the agreements to join the cost sharing agreements, and that is going to be discussed tonight. It is not yet ready for signing because it requires both WPCA and the Town of Old Lyme Selectman Office to approve it. We have some minor changes in that document, so I think it will be approved because it is a big step, but it's also been discussed for quite a while. And Doug may not be aware of those expenses that are coming. We'll plan on probably use it with this year, which is hopefully we'll have this approved within this budgetary year. So with that, I'll be quiet. And Doug, do you want to give us an update on what you saw with the budget?
Yeah, sure. The budget is through the end of June, we have spent 22% of our annual budget. And the budget closes on June 30th. What we have is, I don't think is in this budget. I think it will be in the next run I see. We got an invoice from Schurzman Shapiro for legal work, primarily associated with the pump station and some with the cost sharing agreement. the $3,737, which Rich and I approved. It was posted on June 26th. I don't know, it's not in the run that I have, but I think it got posted in last year's budget, the current year budget.
Yeah, I think if I could interject, Nicole was telling me that she's going to make a final run, and I think it's in that batch.
Yeah, that's what I remember also. As far as the expenses to do with the cost sharing agreement, we've discussed them, and to my knowledge, we have them covered between carryover and current year budget. Current year budget meaning 2019, 2020 budget. We will not have to go into next year's budget for any of it. So that's where we are for the budget, and I think we're in good shape.
Are there any questions about the budget from WPCA members? Okay, hearing none, move on to item 4, business. Item 4A is the Soundview Sewer Miscellaneous Project Area, Soundview Sewer Project and Miscellaneous Area B. Sorry about that. So the status of the cost sharing agreement discussion. We have an executive session planned for tonight, and we thought that the agreement was done. We thought it was agreed to and so forth. And so we said, okay, let's get a clean copy. And the process of getting a clean copy, there was some additional advice from our legal counsel to add some minor changes. And because of that, our motion that we made the previous month said, we agree if the selectmen's agree if there's no changes. Well, there were some changes. So the changes you'll see in the executive session are minor. This agreement is in draft form, and it stays in draft form until the selectman's office reviews it and hopefully approves it, in which case our motion and their motion will say acceptable, and then it'll be disclosed to the public. The reason we're keeping its draft form is because, well, we're still editing it, number one. Number two, it's not something we would like to open up to the public and because it might possibly hurt our negotiations with the private beach associations. That said, that's a standard practice. We have had a better relationship with the private beach associations, and I guess maybe it's because they kind of can see how to implement this project and see our point of view and their point of view. And in the end, we both recognize that if we do this together, we save substantial amounts of money versus doing it separately. We basically split the cost versus having the same costs, and our residents in our project would be paying substantially more because there's less residents. The agreement is based on a percent of share based on EDUs estimated from the engineering report and or the same amount of associated volume that we estimate will happen. But really the ownership is the ownership percent. And is it a perfect number? No, but we've been bantering back and forth a couple percent and finally got to the point saying enough already. The amount of money spent trying to argue about 10% is ridiculous, and it's going to cost us more. Anyways, we are going to look at the executive session tonight, and I don't know if it's acceptable or not to lead to a new motion or not. After that executive session, if it does, we will have new business and we will have a vote on that if that leads to it. If not, I'd like to say that the agreement gets finalized and the selectman takes a look at it. We might have a special meeting for the WPCA that has that same executive session to review the document and make the motion. If we do have that special meeting, it will be posted on the town website 24 hours in advance. I will try and post it as soon as possible. I was working on this thing today till 3 o'clock, and I thought we might be able to resolve it so we have a better place. I just, I was remarking before this call started how you think you're at the finish line on this particular item to do, and the finish line keeps moving a little further out. But we want to make sure we do it right, and that's why we have to listen to our legal counsel and take a look at it and maybe scrutinize this to well, maybe to some degree that some people might just say, just do it. So I guess that's all that I had about the cost sharing agreements discussion. Does anyone have any questions about our status or the cost sharing agreement to join the cost sharing agreement? Okay. Going to the next item, benefit assessment items updates. Essentially, there's no update. You'll see in the correspondence section that we have some interesting correspondence that's related to the benefit assessment. We'll address that then. From our benefit assessment items, all I can say is that the benefit consultant is working to collect data on our systems, our properties. He already has information about the market data. That is his business, so he has apparently databases with sale prices of property and increases and so forth. But we don't have any update with him. We have not had any task force meetings. I plan on having a task force meeting, and the task force is myself, Steve Tsunami, and Dmitry Tochinsky. Those meetings will also be posted on the town website with an agenda 24 hours in advance. I will also try to give as much more than 24 hours in advance. I'll give you my opinion that those meetings are a lot shorter than this meeting because there's just one focused item to focus on. Let's see. Okay, so that's all that I had for benefit assessment items. Does anyone have any questions about the update? Okay, moving on to the next agenda item, review of the sewer ordinance gap and state requirements update. At this point, I'd like to thank Frank for taking this item. And I'd also like to share the microphone with Frank so he can explain what's happened recently and explain what the next steps are. Frank, do you want to take over for this?
Yeah, Rich, thank you. Yeah, the gap we're talking about is the lack of a municipal sewer ordinance, which is required the state, since we will have a municipal sewer. So I used the model provided by CTDEP and customize it for our purpose. And after looking through all the regulations and ordinances associated with Wpca and water pollution that's on the town's website, I think the cleanest way is to generate a separate standalone ordinance just for the municipal sewer, such that we don't have to touch the other ones. I mean, there are some changes that would be nice to do for the existing regulations and ordinance. I think this would be a much cleaner way to do because we're just dealing with a specific issue of putting into the town's ordinance a municipal sewer ordinance. Yeah,
I was going to mention, Frank, if you could cover that you're reorganizing and getting rid of redundant stuff, because I thought was really important.
Yeah. So just one more point is Dmitry was gracious enough to look through the my draft, and yeah, he concurs with the changes I'm making to it. Regarding the changes, the current document, which is summation of both the bylaw and the ordinance, actually is a little bit cumbersome, and there's quite a bit of duplication. We just go strict by the ordinance that affect water pollution septic tank and municipal sewer, we'll have a much cleaner document. So if you go to the town's website under regulations and ordinance, which Jennifer helped us out to organize it, you see all the WPCA regulations and ordinance, and then all the related ordinance regarding sewer disposal and water quality. So everything is in one place. And since we no longer have the Department of Health, so questions regarding septic tank installations, repair, and so on, that would go to Ledgelight, and there's also a link to bring you to the Ledgelight Health District site, so you can get help from sanitarian from that organization. And there's one more thing on the website, is the documents, and the coastal management plan is that is the 69 megabyte, 230 some page with full-out document that I think this would be helpful for folks who want to know more about the project. And I mean, it's much cheaper to download than try to pay 50 cents a page to get that document. And there are also other documents that we have generated throughout the years regarding the sewer project.
So, when I started a while back, trying to find other wastewater plans was like, it was impossible. I'm really happy that we're able to find a way to put it on our website and make it downloadable. So,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
thank you, Frank, and thank you, Jennifer, for figuring that out.
You're welcome. That's all I have.
Do we have to add the ordinance, which is we have to add something new, so we have to go through a process to do that?
Yes, because the ordinance affects the town's people. So it has to go through a approval process and open comment. I think the first step is for our committee to concur that the ordinance for the municipal sewer is acceptable, is covered the basis, and is in accordance with the state regulations.
And we basically copied the state regulations.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Basically told us this is what you have to do if you want to get state funding. So we're
Yes, they were. They didn't leave us a lot of room for innovation.
right, and so just so it's clear to everyone, we're not creating something out of thin air.
This is basically I'm customize it, really changing the names and also the different attendants would be us, the WPCA, of course, then the Department of Health becomes the Ledgelight Health District. So all those, so we customize it for our perspective, for our particular town. And so my proposal is the next step is to provide a document to all the members and get comments from everybody. And after we finish that review process, then we should have a motion to submit that for the town for approval and go through the whole process of public comments and so on, get that through.
So we'll set up a way, or I'm thinking out, and other members can comment too. Frank develops the draft copy and allows for track changes where someone can read it and look at it and make changes. It'll be a draft comment or document we'll bring to committee. We'll approve, like, okay, we feel this one's settled and we can now proceed the next step of going through public comment. Is that the right thing to do versus, because the alternative is we try to do a work session and, some people are better looking at it on their own speed and their own time, and other people are better at debating it in the meeting. But I think it's more efficient.
I think from my own professional experience, we like to have the folks look at it, make their markups, and then we come together and talk about the markups. So it's
Yeah.
I mean, it's really no point, because if you don't do that, you usually, I mean, well, talking from my professional experience again, usually a couple of people who come in and start reading a document for the first time, and that's really a waste of time for everybody else.
Agreed. I have the same experience for quality systems that I do.
Mhm.
Okay, so Frank, do you think that it's safe to say that that's what we're working on for the next step on this?
Yeah, I mean, with the chairman's approval, I would like to send the smooth draft out to all the members for comments, and I'll
You got it.
I'll
You got
maintain
my
that.
approval.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any comments about that section from any WPCA members? Okay, moving on to correspondence. The correspondence, we received a couple of Freedom of Information requests, one for our benefit assessment consultants' contact details and contract information, which I believe was, at least I put in my part, and I believe that we provided that information. And then a follow-up asking for all correspondence from the meetings or published meetings, minutes, and so forth for the task force for the benefit assessment consulting group, and which was responded to that we don't have any meetings information, and we don't have a initial reports from the benefit assessment consultants, and that goes right in along with the section earlier that they're still gathering research on this. And it was interesting that the person that was making the comment thought that it was urgent that we have the benefit assessment, or at least maybe they meant urgent that we have this details done right away. And it's not really. We have to have the benefit assessment ironed out by the project ends when we're ready to set out the benefit assessments, which is about 2024. So we have given estimates out about what people owe, and what we're doing is refining those estimates. I believe those estimates will be lower than what we originally estimated, because when we put the motion together for building this project, it included contingencies that we weren't really sure of. And as we fine tune the construction, the design, and the agreements we have to save money with other entities, business, private beach associations, IMAs, will reduce the costs, and we'll be able to put those cost factors, those costs from estimates to actuals. Anyways, we're studying the benefit assessment thing. We needed to study it to come up with a plan, which we did, in order to present it to the town to make a reasonable, educated guess. Of course, we couldn't lock in because we didn't actually build the system. And as we get closer to building system, we have to finalize it. Anyways, that was the correspondence. There was one other correspondence, which is we got a letter from a legal lawyer and a report, and it's on the behalf of residents from Soundview threatening to sue, I guess, the town, maybe this WC. So I'll see if I can pull up the details of it from my notes on it. And I'll just say that we're reviewing the letter, and what I saw with the letter is, okay, my computer's not working here. The letter is a lawyer threatening us, and to tell you the truth, it kind of shows that the lawyer doesn't really know all the details about it. It states the statutes, Connecticut statutes, and it says that maybe we're being unfair and we're not being legal and we're not being reasonable, and we are planning to be fair and reasonable and legal. We are using the same statutes in the Connecticut to set the assessments. we recognize that the assessments can't exceed the value of the property improvement, and that will be a discussion point. It also had a section of a report, and that report described a method of comparing Soundview properties to Point of Woods properties. And it's interesting that the formula says that, well, since Point of Woods value increased 32%, and there's a difference, a subjective difference between the Soundview and Point of Woods, that it can only, the sewers in Soundview can only be increased 7%. And obviously that's the appraiser's opinion. And really, I have not gotten a response back from another legal person or a person, an expert opinion on it. In my opinion, that really doesn't really make any sense, because it's comparing a sewer neighborhood's value increase and saying, well, it doesn't really matter because those houses always got better increases. And for us, it's not surprising that this happened. Well, it was threatened from the beginning, and you know that's one of the reasons why we hired a appraiser expert to give us advice and consulting on how to handle it and what to value, and it's, I think, a demonstration that we're trying to do it right. So, you know, I don't mind that the residents of Soundview have, or some residents of Soundview have requested this. I know other residents in Soundview have asked me to keep doing this project, that they want it, and that if I stop doing the project, it's not me doing it, by the way, but this just what they say, because that's what they know. They say that they'll complain. So anyways, I guess that's the correspondence that we got. I don't know, does anyone from the WPCA committee have a question or concern about this correspondence? Okay.
To Spring Training, I looked through the report from Mr. Nadeau, and I'm still trying to understand the validation, the valuation basis that he was using. So I really can't make a judgment on that yet, but I'm studying it from a purely dispassionate point of view.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, and that's not an action that I'm asking you people to study, but I mean, obviously all correspondence we look at and review and see if we need to change course. Doug, did you have a question or comment?
Yeah, just a comment. I also went through the report from the appraiser, and I'm not an official appraiser, but I don't know how he comes at 7%. The numbers that he demonstrated didn't come to 7%. I came up quite a bit higher. So I don't know what his algorithm is or how he arrived at that. And it'll be interesting as we go through it to see what our guy comes up with and compare the two. But at this point, I think we just need to ignore that letter from the lawyer and the report that it's attached to it. Neither one of them are pertinent to us right now.
Yeah, fair enough. You know, we've always said from the beginning of this that we're going to do this, and I know some residents don't believe it, but that's my intention, is to do this fair and honest. And when we get through this, I feel I'll be able to at least defend my decision on how I voted and what I did. And I think the rest of the committee, I can't speak for them, but I think that that's the ultimate goal as well. And whatever happens, happens. So
I expected something like this from the group, and I'm glad we have now something tangible to look at to try to see what, I mean, I've been looking through it too, and I agree with some of the comments. I mean, I don't think we should ignore it, but it does now give us something tangible so that we can can try to speak from at least this perspective. If this is what is, if they're providing this to say, yeah, this is what we want, or are they just throwing another thing? So I'm still trying to like discern how to take a next step on it. But, you know, I'm glad that we have something tangible now to look at.
Frank Chen is, yeah, I think we have to consider that a professional product, and we have to look at it from a truly in a professional manner. So this is not to be argumentative. We just try to understand the
Right, exactly.
the approach.
Yeah. So, okay. Any other comments? Okay. So at that point, we're out of correspondence, and we're going to go to an executive session. And the way this works is, for those of you in the WPCA, you need to either exit this WebEx, and it'll continue with Jennifer monitoring it, and then dial in the WebEx for the executive session by email that I sent you last night, or mute yourself on this WebEx and call the number. And for those of you that are in the audience, I don't know if it's going to take a long time. There's not a lot of edits to review. So maybe it's 30 minutes. At the end of that executive session, I can't predict what's going to happen, but new business, one possible thing could happen is we have a motion to conditionally accept this new agreement to the cost sharing agreement, or we have no motion on it at all. We do have some new business, like are we going to have a meeting in August, and a continual discussion about when we should switch back to in-person meetings. Then there will be public comment, and then there'll be adjournment. So I hope that was explainable to everybody. Before we go to the executive session, do any of the WPCA members have any questions about what we're doing right now and how to go to the executive session?
I might. Would you say mute it?
Who is this speaking?
Steve. This is Steve.
Oh, Steve. Sorry, Steve. There's one person that said that they were going to stay on this WebEx call and then join the executive session. If they stay on this executive call and then keep talking on a separate phone line, everyone will be able to hear them. So I said, if you're staying on this WebEx call, mute your WebEx call, then dial in on the phone number. And I will share a document on the executive session. So it's probably best, if you can, to exit this WebEx, go to the executive session WebEx dial-in. When that's over, exit that, and then go back into this one.
Yeah. All right.
So are there any other questions? Okay, so I think Michelle, Selectman's office personnel, is started up the executive session. So I'm going to exit this and go to the other one. Hopefully this works. Talk to you guys soon.
Jennifer? Hello, Jennifer. I see your mouth moving, but I don't hear anything.
The meeting's still being recorded, and
That
Jim
was my question.
is trying to go to executive session.
I know, so we're still being recorded now, even though we're not, even though the meeting is not, even though the meeting is not technically in session.
Yeah, I don't really know the process, so it's still being recorded.
Someone, I can hear the other meeting.
Yeah, Jim, you're still in the original meeting. Do you want me to mute you, Jim Burge?
Yep, let me get out of this.
Jen, obviously, if you can hear us, figure that out to not hear us.
Let's let Jim get out of this meeting here and get into the executive session.
Am I out?
No, you're still in.
Ah.
I think you have to leave the meeting and then join the other meeting as if it's new. Do you want me to, I can expel you from the meeting. I know that sounds horrible, but that's the term WebEx uses.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. All right, he'll go away in a second. The only reason I'm not sure about stopping the recording is because I don't set the meetings up. The selectman's office sets them up, and the recording happens automatically, and then she takes the recording and posts it on the website. So I don't know if stopping it and starting it again will, how that works from the technical point of view.
back.
All right, Rich, we're here.
Okay, let's get the Wpca members in. I would like to add that Dmitry Telchinsky was able to join the executive session, and he's going to try to join this. He was having phone trouble before. He's a Wpca member, for those that don't know.
I
So Frank is back.
Eve is back.
He's back. Rob is back. Steve, can you say something?
Yeah, I'm back.
Did you catch which ID that was?
I didn't. Did anyone see? Keep talking, Steve.
All right. I mean, it's unusual for me to be so quiet, but
I know. I got you now.
all right.
So you, maybe for those that don't know, when you talk, your I think highlights, and then Jennifer can identify you and change the name. So Andrea's back. James is back. Joe's excused. Doug is back.
Back.
I think the one we're missing is Dimitri again. Dimitri, are you there? Can you say something? Okay. All right. Well, Dimitri, I'm sorry, we're going to continue on. I don't want to hold up everybody up. And I'm sure people have other things that they'd rather do than this. At this point, we've ended the executive session. We had a discussion about agreements during the cost sharing agreement. And really the discussion, I'll describe it and then I'll call for a motion if it's acceptable. If not, that's okay. What was changed on the agreement to join the cost sharing agreement was some, what I believe, minor changes, but they were changes. And our last motion said, on the condition of the selectmen signing it and that there's no changes. We hope and believe that these changes are accepted, and point, I'd entertain a motion that properly gives us the review as well as the ability to move this process a little further. So does anyone have a motion?
Yes, Frank Chen here. I move to accept the agreement to add the town of Oline to the Beach Association's cost-sharing agreement for the sewer project, contingent on there are no additional material changes in the final version.
So that was great motion from wording point of view, but it was long. So Jennifer, did you get that?
Yes, I have it, and I'll go back and check the recording, but it says motion by Frank Chan to accept the agreement to join the cost sharing agreement contingent on the fact that no material changes are made to the document.
Okay, very good. Can I have a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, open discussion. Does anyone have any questions, concerns, any WPCA members, questions, concerns? Anyone have any things that they want to add or discuss related to this? Well, I'll say something. I think it's appropriate, and the way we had limited it, I think it works. It moves it forward. And I'll point out that if something materially changes, structurally big or something like that, I promise that I will bring it back to everyone, and all the committee members will see the final copy when it gets agreed to and signed. And the alternative is we wait and have a special meeting, which might be a special meeting where we have a simple look at it and, and that takes a little bit more time. So I think this is appropriate and efficient, and it still doesn't absolve us of having any kind of not reduce or looking at it. Because what we're going to be doing is partially signing it in the selectman's office, and the legal counsel for the town have all looked at it. So I just said a lot, but does anyone else, WPCA members, have any comments that they want to make? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to poll the WPCA members, and first I'll ask them if they approve or disapprove, and we'll just tally the votes. So Andrea, do you approve of this motion?
Yes, I approve.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Doug, do you approve or?
I approve. I approve.
Okay. Frank, do you approve or not approve?
I approve.
Okay. James, do you approve or not approve?
I approve.
Rob, do you approve or not approve? Okay, I heard it approve. So Jennifer, did you hear the same?
I didn't hear it.
Can you raise your?
I heard approve.
Okay. Steve, do you approve or not approve?
Approve.
Okay. Dimitri, have you joined the call? Okay, so Dimitri is still noted absent. The motion carries. So now we're done with that. We can move on to other items on the new business. An open discussion. Do we want to have an August meeting? And to bias you, I think we have to keep making progress. We've got a number of items that probably has to happen. Do we want to have an August meeting? No. Do we want to go on vacation? Yes. So I think I'll just throw it out there. And if it's a discussion at this point, but if we want to change and not have an August meeting, I'd like a motion. So any comments from the WPCA members?
I think we have to have a meeting. We have too much going on.
I'm in agreement too.
Okay. All right.
Second Tuesday.
Okay, so there's no motions. We're gonna with that because we're planning on that. It's an optional, so I'll schedule it with the town staff. The other thing is it comes up to my attention every now and then is when are we going to go back to doing in-person meetings? Personally, I know this is different, but I think it's working. And I've met people that don't believe that there's a problem with the COVID-19 and people that do believe it. And I don't want to put anyone in a place that they're uneasy or put anyone at risk. And I don't even know if we can do it socially distance responsible because we have a variable. We don't know how many people will show up. But what do the WPCA members feel? Should we have an in-person meeting or should we still continue with this remote virtual WebEx thing? And it's an open discussion like before. If we're to change it, we need a motion, I think. Any comments?
I actually think these are pretty productive, and maybe we could just help Dimitri get comfortable with everything. If there's anything I can do for him, I'll do it.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Dimitri tonight because he's done it before. So, maybe, and you're right. So maybe we can reach out to the other members. Any other comments?
I am not in a hurry to get back into a room at the town hall, so I think the virtual meetings are working just fine.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Rich, I just noticed that if I use my phone and hit call and then join the meeting, it puts all the numbers in for me. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that way. A lot of beeping and typing and stuff, and it just does it, right?
Right. So maybe
but it doesn't work on a flip phone. It only works on a smartphone.
The other complication Dimitri might be having is that we received this by an invite and you had to go to your calendar to find the information, not so much just an email. Is that right?
No, I sent the link by email. And I sent it by, yeah, to both. It's on the agenda. It's in the town agenda.
Okay.
So, I
Right.
mean, it's multiple places. So you did get it by the meeting, WebEx meeting invite, because you're WPCA members and we know you're going to attend, or at least I hope you attend. So, you know, we can work with Dimitri and see what's going on there. I mean, I want him involved. I don't want him excluded. And at least you got to call into the executive session, so I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, I think we're done with this item. Now we're up for the agenda item of public comment. So public comment, those that have attended in the past, the idea is state your name. If we can see you, we can probably see your name, and that's good enough. And what we like to do is if you could just state your name, and then we'll recognize you and give you the floor to speak. And you know, if eventually we'll get around to everybody. So ask you to be patient because we got to recognize you, and that way we can figure out so not everyone speaks at the same time. So from someone from the public like to say their name and so they can be recognized to make a public comment.
Yeah, Frank Papalardo.
Hi, Frank, you're recognized.
Hey, I'll try to be brief here. I have several comments. The NATO report, which was transmitted to WPCA by Attorney Ainsworth, was done by a licensed appraiser using the same code of ethics of the appraiser that you hired, the WPCA hired. So are you suggesting that the Mark NATO report and Mark NATO is not competent as an appraiser? First question. Why not save $25,000 and have your appraisers review his report before you endeavor on starting again from scratch? Second item I have is, what's the formula for cost recovery? Is it pro rata, individual property benefits, or some other method? If it's a formula, why do we have to wait until 2024 to hear the formula? I understand that the numbers may change, but the formula shouldn't change. So what is the formula for cost recovery? And lastly, what provisions has the WPCA made for cost recovery when it becomes apparent that the benefit analysis doesn't equal the estimated $7.4 million project cost? Or is it just ordained that the benefit will equal the project cost? Very disingenuous of the WPCA not to have this discussion with the Board of Finance and the selectmen that the town will have some liability in this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. And for those that maybe don't know this, we take the comments and we might respond, we might not, depending on what the comment is at the end of the public comment session. Would anyone else like to be recognized for public comment?
Hello?
If you're trying to speak, I can't hear you. So what you do is you say your name.
My name is Mary Daly. Can you hear me? Because I can hear you fine.
Mary
Unless
Daly,
I'm still
recognized?
muted, sir. Yes, thank you. Mr. Chairman, the Connecticut Examiner's published article June 13th quoted you as saying that Mark Nadeau's written assessment regarding betterment resulting from the suing of Soundview properties was, quote, ridiculously low. Perhaps you didn't know that Mr. Nadeau is a certified state of Connecticut appraiser in good standing with 35 years experience. Perhaps you didn't know that Mr. Nadeau is the owner and president of Nadeau Associates, that he has a degree from New York University, a graduate degree in real estate studies, and an undergraduate degree from New Hampshire University in accounting and finance. Perhaps you didn't know that Mr. Nadeau has been published 9 times and is on the board of directors of the Connecticut chapter at the Appraisal Institute. And perhaps you didn't know that Mr. Nadeau retains an SRA designation issued by the Appraisals Institute, and that fewer than 1% of all appraisers obtain this designation. Perhaps you just didn't know. This weekend, I had the pleasure of hosting family members in Oak Lyme, a great beach weekend. Believe it or not, 3 of those family members are long-term practicing attorneys licensed by Connecticut, DC, Massachusetts, and Chicago Board Associations. I'm not an attorney, and I'm not an appraiser, and neither is anyone else on this call tonight. But 3 attorneys, even though they are family, have emphatically told me that those quotes in Connecticut Examiner criticizing a professional signed work has left this small town wide open to an expensive slander suit. Additional comments made publicly tonight, questioning Attorney Ainsworthy's rationale, and again questioning Mr. Nadeau's report, just makes it worse. I just thought that you should know. Thank you.
Any other public comment? If you want to make a public comment, you say your name and we'll recognize you. And if you're trying to say your name right now, it's you're maybe on mute. I'm not hearing any other public comments. Okay, so we'll end the public comment session, and I'll try to respond to some of these things. As far as my suggesting about the Ainsworth or the appraiser's competency, I've given you my opinion about the report, and it is my opinion, and I am not an appraiser. I'm not an expert appraiser. However, the math does not look like it makes any sense at all, in my opinion. And I don't believe that that is a slanderous lawsuit. I guess we'll see if they would like to sue me or the town. I think that would be unfortunate. And the comments in the attorney's letter, if you dissect it, are false and incorrect. I mean, at one point, he said that we stopped public comment and we're not allowed to. And that's true that we stopped public comment during a pandemic, but we're also not required to do public comment. And we did bring public comment back. So those are the type of things I'm talking about. As far as why would we save $25,000 and use this report? I don't think that's in the best interest of the town, because I think this report is biased. Therefore, we've already agreed to have this appraiser set up and give us consulting and do appraisal. And this is not saying that we're going to spend $25,000. The way it's written from a contract is it'll be up to $25,000 because we had no idea what the length and how much it would be. You mentioned about, one mention was about why do we have to wait till 2024? I don't think it's responsible for us to set out assessments when we don't know the costs. That's why we have to wait till 2024. When we know the cost, then we can set the assessments because we'll know the costs. And that's what a proper cost recovery is. You know the costs and then you set the benefit assessment. If the situation turns out that the costs are higher than the benefit assessment can legally handle, then the balance falls on the town to pay back. And to suggest that I did not tell that to the Board of Finance is incorrect. They know about that, and one of the Board of Finance members made even a comment that that's going to happen based on his opinion, not on an appraiser, not on anyone else. And that cost will be spread out over 20 years. And I think the comment was it'll be $1 million of shortfall, which is his opinion, which is not my opinion or my suggestion. And that would be $50,000 over 20 years. So $50,000 out of a $38.8 million annual budget. I hope it doesn't happen that way. But if it does happen, they are fully aware of that. And that's why they were concerned with it, concerned with the whole project. So those are my comments. I don't know if any other WPCA members have an additional comment on the public comments. Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn and second it.
This is Jim. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, second it.
I second.
Frank, second it. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. The motion carried. Thank you for all attending this meeting. Thank you for contributing to this. And later. In the meeting now. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.